Okay, first of all, I would like to say good morning to my highly respectful lecturers and all my fellow classmates. My topic is direct method, and we are from group 2. And our member we have 3. We have me, Pascal, Ali, and Tik. So now let me move to our group contents. That we have number 1 introduction, number 2 experience, number 3 thinking about experience, and number 4 review the principle that can say is belong and present by me, and number 5 I'll review the techniques. Number 1 reading aloud, number 2 question and answer experience, number 3 getting experience, number 4 conversion practice that will be present by Ali with the second part, and number 5 fill in the blank exercise, dictation until the rest it will be represented by brother Tik. Okay, so now let me move to the first point is the introduction. Okay, as with the grammar translation method, the direct method is the not new one, and its principle have been applied by language teachers for many years. More recently, it was revised as the method when the goal of instruction become learning how to use each other language to communicate. And since the grammatical translation was not very effective in preparing students to use the target language communicate typically, the method become popular. It means that we have to compare about two different ways with the grammar translation method and the direct method. That the direct method actually is a more popular and more effective. We can say effectively used rather than the grammar translation method. That because we can let the student easy to understand rather than that one. Okay, now let me to introduce the backgrounds of the direct method, founded by the Francois Greens in 1816. They observed hundreds of French students learning a foreign language learnings, and concluded the learning of a foreign language to be the same way by which people learn their L1. They aim to use other target language to communicate with a dialing word. Grammar is taught inductively and in which students discover the rule. It means that we focus on the target language to communicate with words, or sometimes with showing picture or gesture rather than just strictly with the grammar touch. Okay. So now let's move to the next one is what is the direct method in teaching English? The direct method is a method of foreign or second language teaching with insist that only the target language should be used. You know already that the direct method we use target language you in the class, and the meaning should be communicated directly. Okay, we have to speak face to face with teacher and student directly by associating speech form with action. We have action with speech, object, minds, gesture, and situation, rather than writing or just grammar. And this one as well, actually, the method here is like highly beneficial method to the second language teachers like me to correctly succeed with teaching career effectively. And here I teach them to understand and to underline, to evaluate, or to create, not to remember, to not to use the complex grammatical rule. And in direct method, we do action, speech, gesture more than writing. And now let's move to the direct method major characteristics. Number 1, here and now. We had to do here and now. No need to wait for we can say like another one in the future. So, and constructive feature, these things, it means that we prefer to use pictures or map or image to teach the student. And number 3, sentences in simple discuss. It means here that teacher write a simple sentence. This is to explain student understand easily. Please don't use a complete grammatical sentences. Okay. And number 4, correct pronunciation. You know already that focus on pronunciation very prudently, and it means that we focus on speaking, pronunciation, and it's much more than writing. And grammatical rules are not explicitly taught. Okay, we don't really fortunately or focus on the grammar rule, or we can say on the sentence structures. Read text. We also have text or passage included in the direct method as well. And now we go to the names of direct method. Direct method also know that is a natural method, a phonetical method, anti-grammatical method, or reform method. But the more popular call known is it direct method. And now let me go to my real experience. experience, I'm calling the student to sit as you said like that in the center of the room and then draw the 8 planets in solar system. And I ask student to open the book to the certain page number that we can say in the book, and the lesson in title of the book is the solar system. And student I call on one by one, yes, and then they read a sentence from the reading passage at the beginning of lesson. I pointed to the part. I try to point the part of the math that the sentence describe about the something that we have read already in the passage. Yes, I'm showing the student with the map like that, and I try to explain them that. Please look into the map, everyone. Mercury is in the Mercury planet. Okay, and Venus is the second nearest brown planet. Yeah, yeah, in solar system, and Earth, the Earth is in the third beautiful like blue planet, and that we have moon nearby the Earth as well. And Mars, it is the second smallest planet after the Plateau. Okay, after the Plateau. Okay, and which is placed between Earth and Jupiter. And Jupiter is the biggest planet, like you see, is the biggest one, and which is located after Mars, yeah, after Mars and Saturn. And Saturn is the most beautiful, if you the most beautiful planet, which is the huge ice ring. This is the huge ice ring. And Uranus is the third farthest and coolest blue planet. I see here is have a color blue. And Neptune is the second farthest and the coldest planet. Like you see, is the second one. And the last is Plato. Plato is the farthest and coolest and smallest planet in the solar system. So totally we have 9 planet in solar system. And then I gonna continue to explain the student. After the student reading passage and look at to the map, yes, they are asked if they have any question. After they read and look, they gonna have question. And a student asks, what is ice ring? I turn to the whiteboard and throw an ice ring again. And the student nod and said, I understand. Because I say and I throw at the same time. I think they understand. And another student asks, what is the nearest and the farthest mean? Teachers, I explained that on the whiteboard is the nearest. I can explain the whiteboard is nearest me. It's so close to me. And the near is mean the word close. And the back window in our class is the farthest from me. You see, they understand because I showed them the example in the class. And then I'm gonna figure out more. After all the questions have been answered and asked some of my own class, are we, uh, sorry, class, are we looking at the map of Earth? And the students say yes. And I reminded the class to answer in the full sentence, not say only yes. And the student changed to say yes, we are looking on a map of Earth. Okay, and then I asked them, are we looking at the map of Mercury? And they said no, we are looking at the map of Mercury. And we can ask more questions like to another planet like Saturn or yeah, like Mars or Jupiter or something like that. And the question and answer section continue for a few minutes more. Yeah, continue more and more, like I said a moment. And finally, I invited the student to ask questions, ask more based on their understanding, their comprehension. After the student have asked about 10 questions more, yeah, a lot of questions conducted. I began asking questions and make statement again. And this time, however, this question and statement are about the student in the classroom and contain what of the superlative adjective with nearest, farthest, and coolest. We include a little bit with the grammar lesson as well. And for example, Plato is the smallest planet, also the farthest and coolest planet in the solar system. And then I instructed the student to turn on the exercise, to do exercise to get more comprehension, to fill in the blanks and the read a sentence out loud and supply the missing word based on the reading and understanding as well. Example, for instance, Mercury is it what? Yeah, Mercury is it the nearest planet in solar system. And Saturn is it what? Yeah, it is the most beautiful. Is it the most beautiful planet in solar system? And then finally, the student, I asked the student to take out their notebook and then give them a dictation, the dictation like about 10 words or 5 words related to the name of the planet in solar system. Then the passage I indicated is the one paragraph. I indicated one paragraph and it's about the planet system as well. So now let's move to the last one, thinking about the experiences. Let me explain you, this is my real observation, my real teaching experience, and this is a principle that on the left and this is on the right. Number one, the student read aloud a passage about occasion of all the planets in the solar system. Yeah, they read aloud like which one is the first, the second, the nearest, the farthest in the solar system. And the reading in the target language should be taught from the beginning of language instruction. However, the reading skill will be developed through the practice with speaking. Yeah, we can develop their reading skill with speaking. We can say involve with reading. And language is primarily speech. We use speech. Example, like in the lesson, we observe the student studying universal and planet aspects. So we can understand by speaking to and reading. And number two, I pointed to a part of the map after each sentence is read. So I try to point and explain them by using my speaking, and also let them read the passage as well. So it's the way that to present in the daily classroom environment should be used to have students understand the meaning. You cannot have the student understand the meaning the ball understand, because we read and I show and I speak at the same time. And number three, I use the target language with a picture to ask students if they have any question. Yes, I saw pictures, and the student use the target language to ask their question, not translation. I don't use translation. I don't use my native language, the first language. So the native language should be not be used in classroom. We use a picture with target language or speaking second language, not the first language. And number four, I answer the question, student question by drawing on the whiteboard or giving explain. Example, like a student asked me at the moment like eyes ring, so I draw eyes ring and explain. So I should use demonstrate, not explain or translate. We try to draw, we try to speak. And it is described that the student make a direct association between the target language from the meaning. And number five, I ask question about the picture in the target language, to which the student reply a complete sentence with target language. I want them to answer, to say with the full sentences, not only say yes, but say yes. We are looking at the we can say at the earth or something like that, at the earth, something like that. So students should learn to think in the target language as soon as possible. Vocabulary is required more naturally. I want them to say the full answer because I want to know how they say the vocabulary pronunciation is the correct one, or is this the correct using vocabulary, or and rather than memorizing the word list. Okay. And number six, student ask question about future. If when I show them the future, they will ask me what is this, what is that. Also, sorry, teacher, what is the third planet? I don't know the name. So when they see the picture, I just say this is, yeah, Mercury, this is the Mars. So it's we can say the purpose of language learning, it communicated, I mean student easy to understand by showing pictures and by listen to their teacher explanation as well. And number seven, I work with the student on the pronunciation. We focus on pronunciation as well, like we have to say Neptune, not Neptune. We have to say Platon or Platon. So we have to focus on the pronunciation as well. And pronunciation should be worked on the right form of the beginnings of language instruction. So be careful to teach the student with pronunciation, because teacher is the model of the student. And number eight, I corrected a grammar error by asking the student to make sure. We can be include a little bit grammar rule in our lesson, like I use superlative adjective in our lesson as well, like nearest, coolest, or smallest. And self-correction facilitate language learning. Yes, this is the way that we can use a self-correction. I let them just cut correction by I just explain a little bit. And number nine, I ask question about the student. Student also ask each other question. I ask student first, and then student can ask each other like their classmate, or then they ask the teacher back. And lesson should be contain some conversational activity. We can make a conversation related to our today lesson with planet, and some opportunity for the student to use language. Yeah, we can use language to read a context. We can use their own word or conversation to talk about the planet, and I let them discuss openly in the group or in the pair to do about it. And number 10, the student fill the blank with preposition practice in lesson. This is the way that we practice to exercise with use the blank with a preposition or with the word or with the superlative adjective. And grammar should be taught in inductive. There are many verbs to be an explicit grammar rule given. So we can use it with some grammar rule as well, but not really strictly or complicated grammar one. Number 11, I dedicated a paragraph about of the planet solar system. Yeah, we can use a small paragraph to let the student understand more. in the lesson as well. Just only the one paragraph, not really a long text of paragraph. And writing an important skill to be developed from beginning of language instruction. Here mean that we use a paragraph to let them student to write a little bit with the lesson related to the lesson as well. So writing we use, but not really much involved to that method, the direct method. Number 12, or the lesson of the week involved on the planet. May mean that I gonna go the process of the lesson in 1 week, in the whole week, to let student can much more understand about the lesson. Okay, and the syllabus is used to situation or topic. I mean that we can use the lesson here also followed by the course syllabus or course by our content as well, do our, we can say our schedule as well. And not the last one, we can use a proverb to describe planet involved to each other. I can use a planet, I can use a proverb, I create a proverb to my student that um, we can say that every planet in the universe are important. Yeah, we can say very important for like moon, sun, and any planet as well. Okay, learning another language to involve learning how to speak that language live. Yeah, we use a proverb to improve more language, to improve more speaking and thinking as well. So thank you. This is all of my video recorded. Okay.
All right. So hello everyone. Okay, so from the discussion of Mr. Wong Haska, I am going to continue our topic. And yeah, it's all about reviewing the principles, and of course, it's still about the direct method. All right, let us proceed. So, all right. So here is the first one. What are the goals of teachers who use the direct method? In direct method, it is very clear that the classroom instruction is conducted exclusively in the target language. So you are not allowed to translate. You need to demonstrate. Yeah, as you can see there, I mark X. You never translate. You can demonstrate. You can show pictures and mimic. You do the action, but yeah, never translate it. Okay, let's move on to the number two. Number two, what is the role of the teacher? So I'm going to read what I wrote on my slide. The role of the teacher is to direct class activities, encourage students to participate in class and correct mistakes immediately. But students and teacher are partners in the learning process. Yeah, teacher is the only demonstrator. She only or he directs the class activities. And the role of the students are very active. Oral communication skills are emphasized. There is a large amount of learner-learner interaction. And yeah, students' role in direct method is they are active learner and they are the observer and the practitioner. All right. Next is 3. What are some characteristics of the teaching learning? Is the process. Where is process? You cannot see it anymore. Okay. So what are some characteristics of teaching and learning process? Teaching learning process. Process is covered maybe. All right. So number 1 is demonstrate by using pictures or gestures. And number 2, it says here it's based on situations or topics. This one is you as if you are showing them the real situation as if they are in the real world. And it is contextual teaching. And for the third one, grammar is taught inductively, no explicit grammar. You do not give rules. You let them figure out the rule. And 4, what is the nature of student-teacher interaction? What is the nature of student-student interaction? So under this one, the student-teacher interaction, Initiation of interaction goes both ways, from teacher to students and from students to teacher. And for student to student, interaction happens naturally in classroom setting. Students listen to each other, they make comments, they ask each other questions, they even also build rapport through frequent contacts. Number 5, how are the feeling of the student dealt with? This one, that's why I chose this picture to show you, because we all know that direct method was developed because in response to grammar translation method. And yeah, there is no principles of the method which relate to this number 5 compared to others like this here. So let's move on. Number 6, how is language reviewed? How is culture viewed? Language is primarily spoken, not written, and culture consists of history, geography, and the daily lives. Number 7, what areas of language are emphasized? What language skills are emphasized? Vocabulary is emphasized over grammar. Only everyday vocabularies, and it is taught through known words, demonstrations, and again, pictures and gestures. In talking about the abstract vocabulary, it is taught by association of ideas. Oral communication, skills are built up in a carefully graded progression organized around question and answer exchanges between teachers and students. So one is the receiver, one is the sender, the speaker. Through Q&A, and pronunciation receives attention at the beginning. This one is correct pronunciation is also emphasized. Teacher is going to correct as soon as she noticed, or let the student figure out what is wrong there, and they're going to self-correct themselves. We're going to go to that on the next slides. Number 8, what is the role of the student's native language? Students' native language shouldn't be used in the classroom. Yeah, just like the number 1 principle. Translation is not allowed. So you're not allowed to use the native language. The focus is not on grammar also, but instead on learning through listening and speaking. How is evaluation accomplished? Students are asked to use their target language in a spoken and written form. For instance, the teacher may interview students orally or write something about what they studied. And number 10, how does the teacher respond to student errors? Learning by self-correction. This one, the teacher by asking the student to make or gets him to correct his own error. Like it can be 2 ways, by the way. The teacher corrects the error or students correct themselves. But of course, before the students can correct themselves, you need to point out or maybe make some follow-up questions for them to realize that the sentence is wrong or their answer is wrong. By maybe giving them choices. What do you think is the correct answer? Is it like this or like that? Maybe that way too helps them to figure out that they got the wrong answer there. All right. So yeah, those are the 10 principles. We are moving to the techniques. So I think I am in charge of techniques number 1 and 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. So the first one is reading aloud. Reading aloud. Students read sections of passages, plays, or dialogues out loud. Students can also take turns reading. At the end of each student turn, the leader use gestures or pictures, show pictures or other kinds of examples to make the meaning clearer, to make the meaning or for them to understand more the passage or the dialogue more. And yeah, reading should be taught in target language from the beginning of the instruction. It's always when it's all about direct method, from the beginning it should be taught with the target language. Okay. Number 2, question and answer exercise. Teacher asks student using target language and student answer in full sentences. This one also by the teacher asks questions of any kind or any nature, and then let the students answer in full sentences. And yeah, because since the target language is already taught from the beginning, so it is understood that in Q&A exercises, the students can make their questions and then call another student to answer in full sentences with using the target language. And getting students to self-correct here again by asking them to make a choice, giving them choices so that they can figure out, oh yeah, I'm wrong with this one. It should be letter A, it should be letter B. And that is example in giving choices. And stopping before the error. This one are many ways on how you do this one so that the student won't get offended or won't feel embarrassed. Sometimes for me, I use facial expressions. I don't really use on this hand signal, stopping the student like this way. No, or questioning voice. I'm going to repeat what he said with a different tone. That is how I do it. And that way, the student can realize that they answered wrong. So they're going to change it. And conversation practice. Teacher asks students some questions in the target language. Students should be speaking most of the time during the lesson. Yeah, maybe 90% of the class, the students should be the one speaking, should be the one, because they are active learners. In direct method, they are active learners. And yeah, I think that is all about my part. And let's move on to Mr. Tick Tick to continue our topic. All right, thank you, everyone.
So hello, lecturer and everyone. So today, I'm gonna be present about my part. So actually, fill in the blank exercise. This exercise is, just ask the student to fill in the blank and, let the student remember about the structure. But actually, uh, you know, uh, have student only to remember the grammar structure only. It doesn't have make a student to be like you know remember all of those things, especially make a student think much. Just fill in the information which is is given, are given. So about the dictations, actually this method is just is widely used in Cambodian, as we know about this method, right? Actually, this method is it's not explicit method, explicit approach for the student to be the critical thinking skill, but actually just focus on memorization. Only student to memorize the words, the spelling, but don't about focus on anything else. So let's move to the interesting one, which is widely used in, primaries or can be kindergarten. So this is map drawing techniques is very good for, kids when we come to this one. So this one is, you let the student to draw, the information, but most likely teacher use it to draw map our countries. But actually it's, you can draw anything else, just like, you give specific information to the student to draw something and then ask them to write down about, information, just like um, dictations is the same, but a different approach that the student can enjoy drawing and learning at the same time. And so when you ask them to when you direction to go to the school, and then you ask that, oh, the first one is that road, so you need to put that road and draw it to the mountain, and what is the name of the mountain, so you just write it down like that. So this method, as based on my experiences, this method is very useful for primary student and kindergarten class, because it based the student creativity. The outcome will be not the same, right? But it's a very interesting approach for teaching a student as well. So about writing paragraph, actually after you let the student to write the specific information on the map, right? So this example is about geography thing, but you can not only can you do that, but also you can apply to draw the maps or pictures, can be anything else for the student to uh, to write more about those information about writing paragraph. So as we know that writing paragraph have a structure, as we know. So to come to our conclusion, that we know that these questions that we need to think about before we teach the student, right? So as you can see here, right? So the first question is, do you agree that the goal of a target language instruction should be teach the students how to communicate in the language, in the target language? Because, all of that technique is how to, let the student, communicate. Most likely the right method is not let the student to have communication skills, but it depends on you how do you elaborate your activities. By some indirect method can be used, can be explicit for the student as well. So maybe they can build the critical thinking, or they express their own idea as well, right? So about the move to the next questions that you should ask yourself is, does it make sense to you that the students' native language should not be used to give the meaning to the language, the target language? So the next question also, do you agree that the culture that is taught should be about the people's daily life in addition to be fine arts? Why? Why do you think like that? So should the student be encouraged to self-center? You should ask yourself why, be self-centered. But, self-centered is a very interesting one, because, the student can express themselves, as I think. So other one is, are there any participants of the direct method which you believe in, and which ones? And which one, that you believe? For me, I believe in map drawing. Yeah, this one is very interesting one, and it's also, let the student enjoy within, getting information and build a communication, communicative skill as well. So move to the next question. So is dictation worthwhile activity? Have you used the question and answer exercise and conversation and practice as the described here before? If not, should you? Is the paragraph writing you a useful thing to ask a student to do? Yeah, that is the quite interesting questions that I have never thought about. The last one is, should the grammar be presented inductively? Are there other technique for direct method which you would consider adopting? Which ones? As I have told you before that inductively is not always implicit, right? So it can be explicit thing for the student as well. It depends on how you conduct that method, right? Example like if that method or approach like make the student think, realize the form of the grammar by themselves. So with this is called explicit. So that inductive method also good for the student as well. So, but this question is you should ask ourselves before we move before we teach, or and how we teach a student based on the student behavior, based on the learning style or something like that. So that is all of my parts, and the last one we should be a reference and something else. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. Thank you so much.